It is 2026, you are sick of perfection and you're ready to create a home that is not only collected, but actually speaks to you. One that feels cozy and homey and lived in, rather than trying to achieve that clean girl aesthetic within your home or trying to carbon copy off Pinterest or Instagram. So if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and you're ready to shed the skin of the snake year 2025 within your home and create something that is far more you, then you have found your series. My name is Claire and my husband Derek and I have designed and renovated homes for over 10 years across 3 continents. We have transformed spaces that people thought should be knocked down, and it has become an absolute passion of ours. We are now renovating our own home in Brisbane, Queensland. We have raised it, we've extended to the side, and we're bringing all of that experience, design philosophy, and also some tips to share with you to remove the overwhelm and create a home that truly speaks to you. I'd like to introduce you to my new series, The Collected Home Diaries. This is a 10-part series where I'm going to take you through some of the principles of a collected home. So if that sounds like your vibe, go ahead and subscribe. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to create a home that truly is authentic to you, what does a collected home mean? So this series is all about collecting and curating versus copying. So let's get into it. Today I'm going to share with you why I am sitting in a home that is partially renovated, not quite finished, but I am embracing that and I'm loving that. So let day 1 of our 10-part series be your permission to slow down, take stock of what's around you, and really get to grips and take charge of your home in a way that makes sense. The first unspoken rule of design which I want to tackle is something that I don't see enough people talk about. There is a load of tutorials online on how to make your room look beautiful, how to pair this with that and what have you, or how to style candelabras, but no one is talking about the core missing piece of design. And to me, that's time. Time is your greatest asset when it comes to designing a home or designing a room that speaks to you. And a lot of what I do when I design homes and floor plans is I actually sit and do nothing. And ultimately, my husband and I used to literally just spend an hour or so, sometimes 3, I don't know, however long we felt we needed, and we would just walk around. We would come up with spitball ideas, and we would never ever rush to make a decision on how to change a space until we felt like we fully understood it. And I feel like that's something that we miss a lot as homeowners. We are in a rush to create that beautiful picture perfect finish. You see it online, like you see these beautiful before and afters. There's a big transition, there's a big moment of the room is finished, everyone come in and check it out. And more often than not, in a month's time, although it looks beautiful, it can feel a little bit one-dimensional and it can feel a little bit flat if we're rushing to that finish line because we're lacking a little bit of depth. And that is what I'm hoping to work through with you today. So time gives you perspective. There is a reason why hindsight is such a wonderful thing. Have a crystal ball and go back and maybe change or tweak some decisions that we may have made too hastily because we didn't have all the information at hand. And if the concept of time is hard to understand, I guess let's put it in simple terms. If you are building a wardrobe, you do not go out, well, maybe you do, but most people don't go out and purchase thousands of dollars worth of clothes, put them in their wardrobe and say, I'm done. A wardrobe is curated, it is collected over time. You find pieces that pair. You might have a pair of shoes that you've had for 20 years because they have some kind of memory attached to them or special moment. And a home is no different. If you're going out and rushing your finished product because you want that after feel, then you will miss the depth of your wardrobe. My advice is take your time. Take your time, walk the space, sit in the space, come up with multiple designs. You don't have to sit and do nothing. I mean, you can spitball. You can come up and say, okay, I want to move this over here. What if we brought in a new chair? What if we changed the color scheme here? What if we did a feature wall? What if we did a picture wall? And as you start to get all of these ideas out there, then, and you start to marinate and become something that's actually tangible, then you'll start to get an idea of what speaks to you. There are things that you will fall out of love with over time, and there are things that you will really start to desire to have in the space. The other thing that time provides you with is it gives you access to those daily moments, those daily tangible moments of yourself in the house, how you use the space. You know, if it's a lounge room and you're sitting watching TV, who's in there with you? Are there's animals? Are there's kids? How are they using the space? Do they come in and want to sit in certain chairs? What's the layout like? Is it comfortable? You know, there's layout things, but then there's also like, does it feel calm in here? How do you want the room to feel? What kind of color palette? So time and perspective. Time gives you perspective, which allows you to really nut out some of those design details. And I do have a number of design questionnaires and worksheets in my slow renovation playbook, and you can download that below if you need a little bit of help. And this book really helps you to take stock of your room, take stock of your space, and it's almost like a designer in a handbook, so you can actually work through those questions that a normal designer would ask. You can check that out below. Second reason I wouldn't rush to finish your room for that picture perfect finish is that buyer's remorse is real. And let me tell you, I have been guilty of this on multiple occasions. I have bought home so much crappy stuff from the shops because I'd seen it on Instagram. It looked beautiful in someone else's house. I brought it home. I was like, what was I thinking? Like, it looked horrendous in my house. It's not even my style. I get very swept up in the moment of kind of retail delirium. We're going to cover that in a little bit later in this series, where I take you through some tips on how to shop efficiently and shop so that you're not bringing home clutter effectively. There are a couple of reasons why I wouldn't rush purchasing your finishing products for your space. And this goes for, it doesn't matter where you are in your renovation. Maybe you are starting right from floor coloring, paint, or maybe you're at the point where you've done all of that and you're just looking at decor. These principles really does feed through. If you rush out to get a whole heap of decor, three things are going to happen. One is you're going to waste a ton of money because you're going to like buy stuff that that doesn't really end up having a home. Two, you're probably going to buy a whole load of stuff that matches, and when it comes into the space, it might look really pretty, but then you're going to be like, oh, it feels a bit flat in here. There's no life, there's no dimension, there's no texture. And thirdly, you're going to end up with a bunch of clutter because you really need to think through what you're buying. So I would say hold off on rushing purchases and be really intentional in your purchasing process. And like I said, there is a later episode where we're going to cover this in way more detail. And the third reason, and I am going to spend a whole entire dedicated episode on this, is that every room needs an anchor. And I feel like, once again, this isn't spoken about enough. I feel like on social media and online, there is a lot of surface design talk around what looks pretty together and pairing items and how to style, you know, your bathroom vanity, but no one really talks about what an anchor is. And effectively, an anchor is an item in your space that will ground your entire room. And often, if your room feels flat or if your room feels one-dimensional, it could be that you are just missing that one piece that effectively ties it all together. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Claire, tell me what it is. What's the anchor? But unfortunately, I can't give you that answer. That's something you have to figure out for yourself. But I can tell you, it can be anything. It can be grandma's cabinet hutch that you have is going to be the one piece you are designing the entire room around, and it's the one piece that catches your eye. It has depth, it has story, and it just makes the space feel something that something else might not. It could be a rug, a design, a color that literally lifts the room and everything else speaks to it. It could also be a mirror. I could go so far as to say it's a sink. And in our kitchen, our anchor piece is our sink. And you can go back and check out the kitchen tour to have a look at that. We found that on Marketplace. I rave about this sink because it is literally such a unique piece. And I designed the entire room and aesthetic around it because there is nothing so beautiful as a solid piece of marble sitting in the middle of your kitchen. So it set the vibe, it set the tone, and you might not and it's got weight and depth. Ultimately, a room without an anchor looks pretty but lacks depth. And I don't mean to harp on, but I do feel like this is just one of those things that isn't spoken about enough, and I will do an entire episode on this. And that is why it's important also to edit your room. And if you're not really sure how to do that, I'm going to be talking about that in a later episode as well. So we've got lots to cover in this Collected Home series. So before we move on, I do want to share a little video of, this is the sink that I was talking about as the anchor in our kitchen. We found it, like I said, off Marketplace. It's a one-off piece. It was literally shipped in from Bali to become a menu holder at a restaurant. They were going through renovation, didn't want it anymore, and we picked it up, and it now lives in its forever home. The sink paired with this mirror is our anchor for the kitchen. It gives depth, it gives warmth, it gives purpose, it tells a story. It is a story piece and it's so unique. But like I said, I designed the room around that piece, and that is why an anchor is so important. Before we wrap up, I would say to you, I'm going to give you 3 practical things you can do in each episode of this series to, really start to look at your home differently and start to think of your home differently. And the first thing you can do is give yourself time. Like I said, if you are feeling a bit overwhelmed or frustrated with your home, get out a piece of paper and start to jot down all the things within it that you feel aren't quite vibing or aren't quite working. Now, this might take you some time, so you can have a notebook beside you. And like I said, if you need help with that, you can always check out our Slow Renovation Playbook, because it has a load of prompting questions to help you walk through each room in your house and to look at it very differently, whether you are renovating, full renovation, or if you are doing the finishing touches. It's really helpful. The second thing I want you to do is not buy anything. I actually want you to go back through and edit your home. Have a look around at the decor, the finishes, and start to think about whilst you're spending that time in the room going through your design stuff, what in the room isn't really vibing with you. And thirdly, I want you to try and identify the anchor in the room that's causing you so much stress. It doesn't have to be every single room in the house. Focus on one room at a time and work through those principles and start to think about, if your room is feeling flat, ask yourself, do I have a piece in here that anchors the space? Next week, we are talking about shopping and buying and some of the ways that I guess, edit myself or check myself before I go to the checkout and actually purchase anything. I really appreciate you being here. This is episode 1. We have 9 more episodes to get through, and I am going to be sharing so much with you. So if you've enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, it is fun to share with friends, so make sure to help a friend out and share this with someone who you love or who's designing their home and you think might really enjoy this. I'm gonna leave you with a final thought today. Collected homes aren't rushed, they're discovered. They are layered over time.